All right, what's happening, beautiful people? I took a single trade today. It was a loser. I'm actually trading on a personal account now. I've kind of been switching back and forth between testing prop firms and testing personal accounts. But before I hop into the trade, the personal trading decision was kind of like I wanted to see how my psychology would work with a small personal account versus like the prop firms. And I think one of the things I'm starting to realize is like the prop firm always gives me this feeling that I have to have a certain amount of like trades. And I mean, you do have to have a certain amount of trades before you can see money. I guess trading with your own money, obviously it's a little bit more risky because it's actual money that you put in the market. But for me, I've been able to feel like I don't have to trade every single day. Like I can put on one trade, whether it's good or bad, and I could trade just one trade in a week, right? You know, if you did that for prop firms, I mean, you know, that would take you weeks to meet your trading goals and like your trading profit targets and everything, depending on what prop firm. So again, I'm just experimenting with that, trying to see what that looks like. So far, not too bad. I really enjoyed not feeling like I have to trade every day. But for today's trade, I actually have been trading ES. Again, I was doing the personal account. So ES has been a little bit easier for me to trade because the stops are a little bit smaller. I'm trading, well, technically MES, one contract on MES, so very small size. Again, just trying to get through the strategy, the supply and demand strategy, and see how that goes. Today, after the big drop on the open, we dropped right into a demand zone that I had made from prior. So I had the demand zone actually from the pullback on Tuesday's action, and this blue zone here was actually a breaker from the pre-market. So I had kind of these two pretty big areas here, and they finally came into play today. So what I was doing, the goal was to try to find support in this area, and I was keeping an eye on the demand area, and so far, like from the beginning of the day, it actually looked pretty decent. And again, if you can see here, like we came right into the demand zone, found a little bit of support, we found some support in the breaker, and so again, you know, the trend has been up, and one of the big things that I've been focusing on is trying to identify like general market structure between like the highs and lows, intermediate highs and lows. And so for me today, I saw a bunch of support, and so on this final test of the demand zone, I took long trying to target the high of the day at ES. It just wasn't the right trade today. Tomorrow is actually options expiration. So I think, you know, maybe there's a little bit of market shenanigans going on. We just traded sideways all day today. So fortunately, I just got caught on the wrong side of that. Small loss, not the end of the day. But what I have been trying to focus on is kind of identifying structure, which, you know, I'm using supply and demand to help me understand where we're headed, why we're headed. But basic structure, this is kind of the thing that's been killing me. And so what I wanted to kind of talk about today was like the difference between like major highs and lows and like intermediate highs and lows. And I've been messing with this concept here. So we are in an uptrend on the higher time frames, but one of the things that's been kind of kicking me is these intermediate, like these kind of 15-minute changes that you'll see. So you'll see a lot of like up, down. You'll see a lot of market structure shifts with, you know, certain areas, you know, breaking below certain lows, breaking above certain highs. And you kind of see that throughout a lot of the trading. And what a lot of people, myself included, get stuck in this idea that, you know, we're so zoomed in on the 1 minute and the 5 minute that we kind of miss the higher time frame perspective. And so I have been trying to identify what I'll call, or what some other people have called, like the major highs and the major lows. And then really anything in between is like intermediate highs and lows. And so that the major high and low is what still dictates the higher time frame direction, and that the intermediate highs and lows can shift the market structure in between those, and it can still feel like it's down, but again, the higher time frame. So again, that was what led me in my trade today. But for instance, I'm looking at kind of this section right here as as a major high. I'm looking at this as kind of a major low. I would call, well, no, let's not do that. I would probably call this a major high. And then this is a major low. So what I'm looking at here is like this, for instance, I would call like an intermediate, excuse the colors, I'm just trying to, and I would call that like these intermediate highs and intermediate lows. Again, in here, this would have shifted market structure, right? If you look at that, you know, there were market structure shifts here that could have showed people to, hey, you know, we're short, we're bearish. But in the context of these kind of like major highs and lows, we are just going up. So again, that was what I'm looking at here. And I'm viewing essentially this section here as a major high. Let me try to keep. And then I'm viewing this, or I was viewing this as another major low. So that's what I was thinking today. Again, the issue up here is that we didn't really make a new high up here. And so, you know, yes, we were putting in higher highs and higher lows, and we still have a higher low at this point. But my objective is like, I'm trying to sift through a lot of like the intermediate highs and lows so that I don't get caught up in it. And I can still trade the intermediate highs and lows. I can still trade, you know, those as long as I have it contextually within like the bigger picture, right? As long as I know, I mean, I'm sure those will have to be scalps, especially if they're like counter trend. But the objective is just having that structure, knowing that, yes, just because, you know, in this particular case, we maybe have a market structure shift, doesn't mean we're actually going down on the medium to higher time frames. And so I've been trying to keep the context so that I can understand that, and it gives me, you know, it gives me a little bit of, you know, there's a theory or like an idea. I don't always have to be right, but at least some sort of narrative to where I can say like, hey, we're still heading up, so this larger pullback makes sense. The intermediate pullback, it makes sense, and I can still be looking for a play out of demand on these kind of like bearish moves without it actually being counter trend, because I'm looking at it from the major high and the major low perspective. So still trying to iron out those details, but again, this is the concept that I'm going at here, which ultimately was the reason why I was looking for a long out of this demand and breaker here. So again, not today, but maybe the indication that it didn't actually break a high, like this major section here didn't actually break this high from last Friday. So that could have been an indication with the huge sell-off right here that we were not heading that direction. But again, I'm learning every single day and I'm trying to figure some stuff out. So that's all I have for you. See you next time. Peace.